Good morning. 5 o'clock is the time. Our top stories at this hour. Police are seeking the public's help this morning in solving a rash of recent car fires in San Francisco. More details coming up in just a moment. And BART and its labor unions vowing to spend all day and night at the bargaining table. They're determined to find an agreement on a new labor contract before tonight's midnight deadline. And President Obama will serve beers to Harvard scholar Henry Louis Gates Jr. and Sergeant James Crowley of the Cambridge Police Department, all in an attempt to dispel a racial controversy that arose after Crowley arrested Gates for disorderly conduct. More on the beer summit in just a minute. Then we're also following the weather this morning as well. A live look this morning from the Golden Gate Bridge. Yesterday we saw a whole lot of fog out here. Don't see it as visible this morning, but the marine layer is still there, and Evelyn Taft's tracking the cooler temperatures as a result. Good morning, Ev. Good
morning, James. It certainly is still there, and it's a similar picture for us today. Fog's a bit higher. That's why we couldn't quite see it through the Golden Gate Bridge in this evening shot. This early morning shot looks like an evening shot because it's dark outside, but you'll see right here that things look pretty much the same old. Looking at fog through the North Bay, through the Golden Gate right there along the coast, through the peninsula into the East Bay as well, and spanning into your inland spots. So with that, temperatures pretty similar to what we just saw the other day, maybe even a degree cooler. We'll have your full forecast coming up in just a second. Want to get a full quick check on traffic with George.
Right now it looks pretty good for the ride to the Bay Bridge. No backup, no delay for your westbound ride. James?
George, thank you very much. 5:02 the time, and we've got some new details on a developing story this morning. San Francisco police are asking for your help in solving a spat of vehicle arsons that have left at least 14 cars damaged in 12 separate incidents. They all began last Thursday. No arrests have been made in connection with the arsons yet, but police say some of the fires were set in very similar ways, with lit newspapers placed under the wheel wells of the cars. Most of the fires were lit from the outside of the cars, and some of the vehicles have been completely destroyed. The arsons have not been confirmed to just one, or confined, I should say, to just one part of the city. They're sort of all over the place. In fact, we've got a map to show you where all the car fires have been set in San Francisco since last Thursday. As you can see here, they range from the Richmond district all the way up to North Beach and all the way out to Ocean Beach as well. Our developing story again this morning. Today is the deadline for BART and its union leaders to come up with some sort of contract agreement. If there is no deal by tonight, BART says it may in fact force a new labor contract onto workers, but management says they want to avoid that route if possible. BART chief spokesperson Linton Johnson says the mood at the negotiating table at this point has been tense and exhausting. Talks have been going on now for nearly 4 months. BART has been looking to save the transit agency about $100 million by eliminating what it says are inefficient and costly work rules, but union leaders say they want to look at other options. And of course, these deadlines make BART commuters nervous, because if there is no deal and that results in the strike, then a lot of folks, thousands and thousands of them, will have to find other ways of getting around. KRON 4's Dan Kerman shows us some of the options.
If BART trains grind to a halt, there are two public transportation alternatives. The first, the AC Transit bus, which travels throughout the East Bay and from various East Bay locations across the Bay Bridge into San Francisco. The other option is ferry service. Pickup points are in Vallejo, Jack London Square in Oakland, and Main Street and Bay Farm Island in Alameda. AC Transit has promised to put 40 additional buses on the road should there be a strike, and the number of ferries is also expected to double. Still, transportation planners say even with the additional capacity, it will in no way accommodate the 180,000 people that travel across the bay on BART each day, or those traveling other routes on BART. That leaves you with two additional alternatives. One is carpooling. The other is getting in your car and driving. But be prepared to fight a lot of traffic, especially on the first day of a strike.
Now, if you're used to taking BART and are unfamiliar with using the ferries or AC Transit, just log on to our website or log on to 511.org for all the information you need on the alternatives that are available to you should BART not operate. All right, 5:05 the time. Let's get over to the Weather Center now. Evelyn Taft tracking the forecast for you this morning. Let's get a full in-depth look at it now. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning, James. We're taking a look outside at Storm Tracker 4 and into next week. 5:07 is the time right now. Let's get a check on traffic with George.
We'll start with a look at the 80 westbound ride and the trip down to the Lower East Shore Freeway, but not in any critical commute areas. James.
All right, George, thank you much. Now on to some other stories for you new this morning. Governor Schwarzenegger is quickly losing public approval for his job. The new poll out by the Public Policy Institute of California shows his popularity has sunk to a new low now of 28%. This as he heads into his final months in office. The last time a California governor's approval rating was that low was when then Governor Gray Davis faced a recall election and was in a budget standoff with the legislature. California is also giving state lawmakers a record low approval rating as well, 17% for lawmakers, and just 14% of those polled believe the state is headed in the right direction, so not a lot of optimism out there. Meanwhile, the state courts will be closed now for one day each month to save California a little bit of money. The state's Judicial Council unanimously approved the move during a meeting on court budgets. The closures are set for the third Wednesday of every month and will affect all state courts, including trial-level superior courts, 6 appeal courts, and the state Supreme Court. They say it'll save the state about $85 million. The closures are set to begin in September. Meanwhile, also for you new this morning in Washington, President Obama will serve beers to Harvard scholar Henry Louis Gates Jr. And take a look at that photo. Isn't that nice? It's not a real photo. It's a doctored one. We did it just for comedic effect. But there's the president in the middle, and he'll be hosting the gentleman there on the right, Henry Louis Gates Jr., the professor at Harvard, and Sergeant James Crowley on the left-hand side there of Cambridge, Massachusetts Police Department. They're getting together in a move to try and dissipate some of the racial controversy that arose after Crowley arrested Gates for disorderly conduct. The charges, of course, were later dropped. The event is planned for a picnic table outside the Oval Office, weather permitting. But look, okay, you see the president in the middle there. You see what he's holding? He's chosen, and he's told the press this, that he wants to drink Bud Light when they all get together. The others can drink what they want, but he wants to sip on a Bud Light. Now there's some controversy brewing because Budweiser, now owned by a foreign company, although it's been an American brand for decades, and a lot of people are shouting out now, don't drink Bud Light, drink a true American brand, drink like Samuel Adams or something. I don't know. People can find controversy in everything, can't they? All right, 5:10 is the time. Incidentally, it's not all fun and games. The president will be meeting with the president of the Philippines later on today as well to get some business done there. All right, 5:10 is the time on the clock. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a moment, so stay with us. A live look from SFO this morning, where at this point the fog's not causing any problems or delays with air travel, but as always, keep an eye on it. You never know when the fog might become a factor. We'll be right back.